Welcome back, everybody. Tonight we're going to be discussing two of the most successful events that I have ever had witnessed with Jared Brader. His team last week had an ultra successful event here in Utah. At the same time, we were in Dallas, Texas with 80 business owners and some of their employees doing a live boot camp over there. And both of those events ended up being the two most successful events that we've ever held. And I'm going to get Jared over here in just a few minutes to interview him to see why was the event in Utah so successful and what did we do differently with our clients this time in Dallas. So stay tuned. That's what we're going to get to right after this.
3, 2, 1.
My whole purpose for this call is to give business owners like yourself, like myself, insight into the success, the failures, the day-to-day struggles, and the real-life examples of how I've won and lost over the last 12 years of growing my own businesses. It's my hope that you'll engage and ask real questions of myself and my team so that you can avoid the pitfalls, the roadblocks, and the struggles that I've overcome. I want to share with you what I'm doing in my businesses, plus the businesses that I help run across this country. I want to give you the insight that I've learned coaching clients in medical, real estate, accounting, and other professional services, and how we've helped them live the life of a visionary entrepreneur, scale their organizations, and leave a lasting legacy on this world.
Welcome back, everybody. Jared's going to join us here in just a few minutes. As we get started tonight, we're going to talk about live events, selling one-to-many, if you've ever heard that phrase before. We're going to talk about an event from Jared's practice, and we're going to talk about an event with our clients. And what I want to know from you, if you're watching this recording or watching this live with us, I want you to chat in or leave a message on the YouTube channel. Do you have any live events scheduled this year? The rest of 2022, do you have any events on the books this year? And I want to know by the time we're done with this video if anybody's going to schedule one after we hear from Jared.
Hey, what's going on?
Welcome, welcome.
Thank
you got
you.
the manual there.
I got the
Texas.
manual.
Nice, nice. So I told everybody tonight, Jared, we're going to talk about the live event you had in Utah with your staff. You did a movie event, so I want to really get into that first, and then I want to talk about Texas.
Let's do it.
That. So tell us, what was the event here in Utah for the patients?
So, I mean, we called it a patient appreciation event. We rented out a local theater, had such a great response. We ended up renting out 2 of the theaters in the movie complex. We showed the brand new first ever release of the new Downton Abbey movie. And we had about just over, I think, 200 people there. And of those 200 people, about 100 of them were current patients, current clients, and then 100 of them were guests of the current patients. So we call it a patient appreciation. A lot of people think, oh, well, you're just giving back or you're just being nice. And in reality, for me, right, whether this is bad or not, always be selling. And so it was a sales event. And so the difference is it was a patient appreciation event for current patients. But the reality was one-to-many selling. The reality was, how do I get my current patients to refer their friends and family in a non-confrontational way, in a way that isn't like one-to-one selling or come get a hearing aid or come get treatment.
Sure, much more relaxed environment.
Definitely.
Tell me, did you know from the beginning, was it going to be 2 movie theaters, or did you book one?
We booked one,
Okay.
And then the first email blast went out, overfilled it.
Gotcha.
So then we had to do a second theater.
And tell me about the first 100 that were current patients. They knew who you were.
Mm-hmm.
How did you establish that list? Like, who are they to the clinic?
Sure. So I went and pulled a list inside of my CRM system, which is Keep. I pulled a list of current patients, so people that are under current treatment with us in the last 4 years.
Gotcha. And then they brought 100 of their friends, people they loved, family.
Yeah, so the invitation was for themselves, a loved one, a spouse, and then 2 guests. So really, every one patient could bring me 3 new potential prospects.
Love it. And I mean, how do you convince somebody to bring somebody? Like, what does that messaging look like, or what are you sending to them of like, hey, bring a friend, bring a loved one, bring somebody that needs our help? What does the message look like to get the other group of people to leave it?
So you do have to be careful. In my early years of marketing, right, we said bring anybody. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, grandma was bringing 3 grandkids, and they weren't potential prospects, right?
Yeah.
So this time it said bring a family member, a spouse, another couple that could benefit from hearing and tinnitus treatment.
Okay,
so
so
there
very
was very,
specific.
very specific,
Okay.
very clear. This is the type of people we're looking for, and I want you to bring those type of people.
Awesome. And then can you kind of outline for me how many touch points were there? I know you said there was an email. That was
Yeah.
the original blast. What else?
So automation wise, there was 3 emails
Okay.
in the original campaign.
That's
3.
a lot. That's too much, right? Like you just
No, I
find-
mean, I've done 7, 12 before,
Yeah.
but because I basically could have rented a third theater, a fourth theater. We could have done this as big as we wanted to. The movie theater has 12 theaters in their building, so
Is
I
that a
guess
goal for
I
you?
guess we should just
That's
do
a
all
goal. I
12
love
next
it.
time.
I love it.
But no, we just stopped at 2 theaters. So 3 emails, 1 text message.
Okay.
And then I assigned my staff in the office to make sure they were signing people up live as they were coming in for their quarterly checkups, annual evaluations. Make sure you're inviting people. Make sure you're making this a big, energetic event. And then there was also an insert from our graphic artist, Steve Roosh over at Studio 7. There was an insert he designed that we put inside of our newsletter to current patients in St. George. And I think that's very, very specific. Like the nugget as a marketer there is I could pull a list of clients, patients, customers, donors from one office with a very certain type. They weren't upgraded, they weren't tested, these were current patients.
Right.
And because of our CRM system and because we segment our list, I was able to pull just the right people. And I wasn't sending this invitation out to New England or Wyoming or Nevada or Richfield or wherever.
Yeah, and these people were somebody that knew who you were, they trusted you, they've done business with you before. They were people that already had that relationship.
Yep.
That relationship was maintained.
Yep.
So insert in the newsletter, anything else? Direct mail, radios, anything else that were...
No. So I mean, it was just 3 emails, a text message, and a couple L10 meetings reminding the staff to invite people.
And you did hit your number. So like 3 emails, 1 text, the office staff touch points, and then the insert. You talk all the time about 6 to 12, and you hit your number there of 6. So
Yep.
that's a lot, right? Like to clients that I speak with, you speak with, the coaching group, people that have sort of dabbled in your world of marketing and watched some of your webinars and the seminars that you do. Jared sometimes is labeled, I think, as this like aggressive marketer.
Sure.
And you have 6. You've said multiple times now that 6 to 12 touches is the key point. You hit 6, which for you would be like the bare minimum.
Sure.
So how many people opted out? How many angry patients did you have? How many people hate you because of this movie event?
So I mean, I don't know exactly, but we had less than 5 opt-outs. We did have 170 plus, so 200 registered, 170 plus actually hit the button in the email or in the text that said no thanks.
Okay.
And I think the takeaway there is, as a marketer, I want engagement. And even if you're not going to come, I want you to click a button because it helps my CRM system show engagement. And so give them that opportunity. And so maybe somebody clicked no thanks after email number 1, right? But then they didn't get email number 2, 3. They didn't get the text message because they said no thanks. But the people that didn't respond, those are still potential yeses, and they got a second email,
And
and
you
they
have
got
to
a
keep
third,
touching
and you have
until
to
they
keep
click a
touching
button.
them, and you
Okay.
have to be omni-channel, right? So I could have done email only, I could have done office only, I could have done text message only, but different people respond to different medias at different times, and so you have to be in multiple media
Yep.
to have the most success.
Absolutely. I love the fact, like as we keep encouraging clients and people that maybe are watching this YouTube channel, that you have to put yourself in front of a group, right? This idea of selling one to many and the benefits of getting a large group of people to listen to your message or be a part of your community versus one-to-one. Like as an audiologist, how much progress can you make with one individual versus 200 people in a movie event?
So number 1, a huge principle, and we talked about this earlier on our private coaching group call, is one-to-many selling, right? If you want to increase your magnitude of impact, if you want to build a bigger legacy, if you want to think larger, you can't be constrained by one-to-one selling. So you have to think bigger, right? That's number 1. The other thing that I would say is that you have to understand what your sales process is and what the patient, client, customer, donor journey actually is. So like chat in right now if people are on here. How many of you sell by appointment? How many of you sell face-to-face? If you do, chat in yes. right? Because I think oftentimes we think that an email sells. We think that a text message sells. But I'm trying to think, like, have I ever sold something without an actual appointment, without an actual conversation?
Sure. It's difficult, right? I mean, even, anybody that is clicking, Amazon things, right? That's a specific product. But for the majority of the clients that we coach, whether you're a real estate agent, that brokerage, you're an audiologist, you're an HIS, you're a lawyer, you run a consulting company, you are doing business with a consumer, and that consumer most likely needs to hear from you, whether that is, what to your point, a video, a text message, and an email. It all should be pushing to something, right? And I think what you're one of the things that you're really good about coaching people who don't have a marketing background is that your email can't be one-sided. It can't be take this action or do nothing. It has to lead somewhere, right? It has to have agreeing on the next step. It has to have come to this next thing. It has to have something that agrees them to continue to follow the process.
Yeah. Well, and what CRM systems allow you to do is really to have what I said as a sell by appointment, like sell by relationship. You have to have a conversation. Now, some of the new modern CRMs like Keep allow you to do if-then analysis. So if somebody says, no, I can't make it, that just means they can't make it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, I'm going golfing later today, Morgan, can you make it? Yes or no? It doesn't mean
Doesn't
you
mean I
hate
don't want to
me.
go the next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't want to bombard them with the follow-up, the second through 12th touch, because they opted and said no thanks this time.
Sure.
But I do want to make sure next time they're invited.
Yeah.
Right? And then the people that did sign up, that was just a click to sign up. Now I want to make sure that they know the details, the time, the date, the place. I want to make sure
So
that
still going to be contact.
Yeah, so after they registered, they got a thank you for registering contact that yet again said, please invite your friends. Please share this email. Please post this email on Facebook. Because I want to turn one into many. I want to turn one into three. I want to multiply my patients, clients, customers, and donors.
Absolutely. Just to finish that conversation all the way through, the event's done and over. What now? Did they receive thank yous? What did they get after the event ended?
Yeah, so I mean, now people ask, how'd you get so many reviews? And we had a great interview yesterday with somebody that's in the review business, but they all got an email saying, thank you for the event.
Okay.
Here's a few pictures.
Nice.
Right?
So they in the email had pictures of the event.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Here's some pictures, and then they got, please leave a review. Not leave a review of your treatment, leave a review of your interaction with my business.
Yeah.
So I'm not just asking for reviews only if you give me money. I'm asking for reviews if you brought your
smart.
friends, family,
Yeah.
and everybody
Did you
else.
enjoy it? Was my staff nice to you? Did you have a good time?
You could do a survey.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I just asked for a
But that's
review.
what they are, leaving a review. They're not leaving a review even necessarily yet on their hearing treatment, which
Nope.
is what the business is known for. Right now, they're leaving a review based on, were those individuals nice to me? Did I have a good time? Did I enjoy my time spent over there? Was it worth it?
Now on site, right? My staff I had 5 staff members there. They did an amazing job while I was in Dallas, Texas. They built relationships. They started conversations. They gave everybody a welcome back, just like if you were a paying client, customer, donor. We treated you like royalty. We gave you
So
the
they went home with
Ritz-Carlton
something
approach.
physical.
They went home. I believe you could check me. I believe they all got a water bottle, chapstick, sunblock. They got a copy of Dr. Darrow's book.
Are you a big brand guy? Like all those things have your branding or your message on it, or is it just a water bottle?
I'm not a big brand guy, but those did have
Okay.
branding on it.
Okay.
Yep.
And then after that, follow-up emails, they had an email that had the photos in it, text messages, thank yous, and now we have over 200 people. We already had 100 people's contact information, but because of this event, we have all these other people's contact
Correct.
information just based on them RSVPing for the event.
And when they checked in, they all filled out a contact card. Who
Okay.
brought you? What's your name? Your phone number? Your email? And then my phones team has those stack of cards, and they're going to begin calling, following up, and they're going to put them back into the CRM and say, now this is a prospect, right? They're over the age of 55. They came with a friend and family member, and they're going to be a list segment now that's in my prospect list.
And when you say, just to finish this marketing conversation, then I really want to talk about your people and them being autonomous during the event. Now there's so many options for those people, right? Like some of those people, they might not be ready for treatment. We know that some patients deny treatment or avoid treatment for as long as 6 years. So there's long-term nurture. You have newsletters that you send out. You have another patient event that they could come to. You're going to have a symposium that they might come to. They might receive a plethora of information from you, right?
Yeah, I mean, so at a bare minimum, very, very bare minimum, they're all going to get a monthly newsletter with an insert,
Cool.
right?
Physically.
Physically.
Okay.
In the mail, they're going to get a monthly newsletter. they're going to get invited to next quarter's patient appreciation event, and they're going to be invited to bring 3 more prospects, right? So you think about multi-level marketing, think about, exponential growth. Like that one patient brought me 3 new ones, maybe.
Yeah.
Those 3 new ones bring me 3 more, and now I have this like self-fulfilling lead generation system.
Yeah.
Right? And guess what? It truly might be that they get to come to a movie with me every quarter for the next 5 years. And then they're ready to do business with me.
Yeah.
And guess what? That little bit of popcorn and that drink in that movie theater every quarter for 4 or 5 years is well worth us starting a relationship, us treating their hearing loss, and then them sending me more patients.
Yeah. That's so hard to teach though, people, right? Like the way your brain works on marketing and the relationships and that factor of 1 becomes 2 becomes 4 becomes 8, that how do you teach that? Do you hire somebody else to handle that? Because the audiologist is so good. I think that the average audiologist, the chiropractors, the business owners that we work with, they realize that once their client or their prospective client or their patient walks in their building, now we have a relationship. But they don't always see that prior to them actually physically walking in your front doors or booking an appointment with you for something, there's still a relationship to be had.
Sure.
And I find that so difficult for everybody to understand. Like, I think the general philosophy would be I had a great patient event, maybe we booked some appointments and that's great, it's over with, it's done. But for Jared, it's not done, it's the beginning. Yeah. And that's so hard to teach.
Well, the thing you have to think of, right, and OTC in our audiology niche, direct to competitor in many niches, competition, everybody has this mindset of scarcity, that we're all competing for the same patient, client, customer, donor, and it's just not true, right? I just went well before any of those 100 people were thinking about hearing and tinnitus treatment. I just went and started a relationship with them. I started dating them way before they ever even noticed a problem. It's the same when seniors move to our area. We're welcoming them to St. George years before.
Which is just crazy to me. because they do, right? They retire. In our niche of the world that we live in audiology, our A patient, they typically retire and move, or they retire and buy a second home. They have some form of an investment. And what you just said, which is it's baffling to me, it's not being done to my knowledge anywhere else, is when that senior who's an A patient moves to town, you're welcoming them to town. Yeah. Why? Why would you ever?
To start the relationship sooner?
They don't know you. How would you? Why?
Tell me how many welcome gifts you got when you moved to town or bought your new house.
Zero
right?
from my realtor. I got one, but yeah, 0.
And you remember the one from your realtor.
Absolutely.
Right? And so in our real estate coaching and our brokerage, do we do welcome gifts?
Insane.
Right? Do we stand out differently? Do we stand out like an apple in a sea of oranges?
I love it.
And so, yes, so specifically for me, there's a huge follow-up. Those 200 patients are going to come to my symposiums, my live events. They're going to get my newsletter. They're going to get the new book from Dr. Darrow. They're going to get so many touch points that they will or won't consume, and they're going to pick and choose. They're going to self-identify what parts, what topics, and what thoughts they're having. Yeah. And then they're going to choose when the time is right for them. And guess who they're going to call?
Absolutely.
Me, right? And so I want to give people an analogy because it's sometimes it's hard and complex in business to think about this, but think about dating. Like if you just walked up to your wife the very first time you saw her and said, "Will you marry me?" Yeah. That's what we try to do in business. Patient walks in our doors for the very first time, calls our office for the very first time, comes in for a hearing test or a real estate assessment or whatever first interaction, and we're trying to get money the very first time. Yeah. We're trying to do business. And it's just so hard. Imagine doing that in a legal case. Imagine doing that in your personal life. Imagine doing that in a relationship. That's not how it works. Yeah. So what can you do to date? What can you do to reveal the true self, the true you, your core values? How do you have multiple touch points? And do you understand what your buying cycle is? In ours, you mentioned, it could be up to 7 years. So if I'm not doing a lot of action and staying ahead of them for 7 years, I'm missing the boat, and I'm having a scarcity mindset that I have to sign deals today. I have to get people in today, versus what about and I don't know if you know this, direct mail. Do you know what the response rate on direct mail is?
I don't. 10%?
No, like 2.
Okay.
If you're lucky. So people are sending out 50,000, 100,000, a million pieces of mail, and 1 or 2% are responding. And they think, wow, well, that means only 2% of people, and I want my share of 2%, and they want their share of 2%. So how do we do this? They have scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
In our profession of audiology, there's 42 million people that need help. I'll let my brother across town or a competitor have that 2%, and I'm going to go out to the blue ocean. I don't know if you've read the Blue Ocean Strategy book, fabulous book. I'm going to go out to the blue ocean. I'm going to fish where nobody else is fishing. I'm going after that 98% because there's no competition.
Yeah, I love it. I think the big nugget for me, who's not a marketing guru, many of the people on this phone call maybe are not marketing backgrounds, is that marketing equals relationships.
Oh, for
and
sure.
just like you said with dating or anybody that does has a spouse or long-term relationships, how many dates did you go on? Because it isn't just one movie event and now we're good. When they're ready to come into my office, they'll come. It's a relationship of dating and flowers and follow up and follow up and follow up. So marketing equals relationships, which seems so simple, but if you're not a marketing person, if you can shift your mindset just 10% of a shift into how do you build a better relationship with the people before they walk in, you'll be better off.
Yeah, I'm going to go real dark right here.
Oh, okay.
So it would be much better to reveal your true self when dating. Tell me if you agree. It'd be much better to reveal your true self, the idiosyncrasies, the good, the bad, the ugly, and set expectations. Then fake it in the beginning, make promises you can't deliver, and then get divorced.
Yeah.
Right? Because I assume once you're divorced, I mean, the percentage of people that get repeat married is probably slim to none.
Yeah.
Because once the trust is broken, it's broken, right?
Yeah.
So everybody says, well, Jared, how do you follow up with people that already told you no? Well, if you did your pitch, if you had your interaction, if you had a relationship and you broke trust, the likelihood of catching those people and convincing them to come back is slim to none.
Sure.
So take your energy from how do I play catch up to how do I make sure we're doing the right thing up front so that we're not breaking trust.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
That's huge.
So if you don't have
Huge.
a treatment rate at 70%, if you don't have a close rate at 70%, if you're not looking at how do I fix my relationship before I get to that proposal, you're off to the wrong foot because you're going to be playing catch up the rest of your business life.
Yeah, that's huge. It's massive. The only other thing I want to mention here on the marketing side and the differentiator, one of the big things you talk all the time, Jared, you just said it, is I think the apple in the sea of oranges, blue ocean being different, not always being better, but being different. This is something in our industry. If you're watching this and you own a hearing clinic, you're an audiologist, you're an HIS, or you work inside of a clinic, think about what an OTC hearing aid salesperson is going to do for their patients, and think about what Jared just did for his patients last week. And the two are not even comparable. Everything that you're hearing him talk about dating and treating them right and making sure they're followed up with, making sure they're coming to events, making sure they feel loved, what is the hearing aid salesperson OTC doing? So if you want to separate your practice even further beyond what science you have inside of your business, you got to treat your patients better before they even walk in the door. Because what I just heard Jared say is if you're relying on the moment they walk in your door, you're going to give them the best damn sales pitch they've ever had, and you're going to show them all these fancy machines that you have and show them everything that's so cool in your office, and they're telling you no, it's because you didn't have a relationship before they walked into your office, and your sales pitch does need some work.
Yeah, and so the words to really focus on, and maybe this brings it, right, is everybody wants, not everybody, a lot of people in sales believe that they're in a transactional business, right? So if I walk into the gas station and buy a Snickers bar, I'm exchanging money for a product.
Yeah.
That's transactional. They don't care about me. They don't care about my life. They don't care about my journey. There's no fault. Nobody said, hey, how was that Snickers bar? Nobody.
Yeah.
Right? And what we're talking about is transformational. We're talking about holding their hand as a patient, client, customer and saying, I want to be with you till the end.
Right.
Community, but for me, you're transforming their life. I'm not selling, OTC is selling you this product.
Here you go.
And we're done.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be part of their life and transform their life. And so we talk about social isolation. It was the title of Dr. Darrow's first book. Yeah. And so if social isolation is true and not just words we're using to sell something, then how do you help the older aging generation not be socially isolated?
And you can't do it with just one product.
You have events. You bring them to an ice cream social. You
get them
take them
out of
to you
isolation.
take them out of isolation. So it fits with our vision, our purpose, our mission, our core values. It fits with the narrative of what we're doing for people. We're not just selling a product in a transactional way. We're building a transformational relationship.
I love it. It's so huge. We already converted one person. Somebody said, I don't have any this year. I'm planning on doing events in 2023 and 2024. Chatted in, I don't know, 15 minutes later and said, never mind, I'm doing one this year. So,
Well, I mean, I chatted more. Like what's holding you back? What is the concern? What is the...
I'll tell you what how much did it cost, Jared? How much was this event? What's the total? And I want you to include, I want you to go as far as you can possibly go. Employee time, the popcorn, the sodas,
so
everything.
movie theater expenses, popcorn, sodas was about $5,300 for 2 theaters full of people, popcorn, sodas, time. I shut down the office for a day in St. George. So I mean, in potential lost revenue, that could have been $32,000 in St. George. We lost the potential for 4 treatments, and I have a story about that. And then I had the payroll of 5 people being there, right? So I mean, a day's worth of payroll for those people. And you know, in reality, maybe some people got voicemails or went to my office and were mad because the door was locked, or who knows.
Yep. So I mean, that's one I know for sure from my experience with the clients is, one, how much does it cost? It costs too much. And 2, which is probably, I would say, the root of the cause is I don't know if it's going to work, right? Because you would be willing to invest that money. Let's say, you know, that what you just told me is that single day out of your office was probably worth, give or take, $40,000. So Jared's asking me to spend $40,000 for what? What did I get out of it? And I think their real truest doubt is, I don't think it's going to work. I don't know if I'm good enough on stage. I don't know what I'm going to say. What if the people don't show up? What if my marketing's not good enough?
So yeah, I mean, there's 2 points I want to make. Is one, you're talking about the what if. So you're talking about limiting beliefs, right? And you've probably seen me. I wish I had the flip chart. I would draw limiting beliefs. You either don't believe in yourself or you've been told untruths, right? And so you have to say, is this thing a limiting belief that I'm just not confident enough in myself? And we can talk about how to overcome limiting beliefs, how to touch success, how to get better, and how to prove to yourself that these things work on a smaller scale before you drop $40,000. And the other thing you mentioned to me is, what was the other thing?
I doubt myself. I don't think I'm good enough. The money's not going to work.
Yeah, so it won't work. And I would say that to me, that's where the science meets the art, right? So we hear often with audiologists and dentists and chiropractors and medical professionals, I do this because I want to help people, right? And so I know the algorithm. Do you know your numbers? If I put 10 people in front of one of my audiologists, I know what the math says, how many will convert. I have a statistic, and you all should have KPIs and numbers in your business as well. So if I put 200 people in front of you, I take that statistic and I extrapolate out the data. I can tell you if I put 200 people in a theater, what percentage will book an appointment and what percentage will start treatment and what percentage of revenue I will make for that expense.
Yeah.
So out of the 200 people in that room, if I spent $50,000, that's opportunity cost, payroll, that's everything. Like that's really taking it crazy.
Yeah.
If I spent 50, how many treatments, how much revenue do I need to make to justify that 50,000 expense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you have a number? Because some businesses might say I want a 5-to-1 ROI. Some businesses might say I want a 10-to-1 ROI. And I'm of the mindset of break even or better is still a win. Because the lifetime value of a new client, customer, donor, or patient is through the roof.
Yeah, you still have 100 new names that you need to continue a relationship with.
Yep.
So is there a projected number that you have in your mind of what
Yeah,
break even or better is good for you, but is there a projected number? What's the reality of
Yeah. So the team had a goal of 25 appointments in the month of June from that event.
Awesome.
And realize it's going to take some days for the nurture to happen. That was last week. So Luann's working the phones now, and I can definitely share an update.
Yeah, so he kind of skimmed over that part. So they came to an event, and just so you guys know, in Jared's office, even though they booked an appointment that day, or they said I want to come in, or maybe the next following week, because I think it was on a Friday we talked to them, When Jared's office, when they're booking appointments, they're still 7 to 14 days out.
yeah.
14 days out so that that patient can receive more text messages, emails, physical mail, the book in the mail.
We can date, so we can date more.
More pre-education before they walk in the door. So I think that's another key factor there of, yes, they came to the event. Yes, at the event, their friend that brought them endorsed you and they said, I trust these guys, I like these guys, I would do business with these people, I want to come to that office. There's still more dating to be happening. So the appointment wasn't booked the following week, it wasn't booked the next day, it wasn't booked that particular day. There's still time there to build a relationship before they walk in the doors.
So I got to tell you, Dr. Sterling, so in each theater, Dr. Burrows and Dr. Sterling each got to the front of the room, played the Dr. Darrow video where Dr. Darrow talked about the science, and then they were the personable doctor at the front of the room. And Dr. Sterling played a joke on all of them. He said, hey, everybody, I'm so glad you joined us for Downtown Abbey. Because it's Downton from Europe, not downtown.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, no, like, because it's a common theme. And he's like, I was just making sure your hearing's good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's how he. So what I just heard you say is you had Dr. Darrow, who's the authority.
Yep.
But you had your two local audiologists kick it off.
Yep.
And then they played the video from Keith, and then we watched the movie.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. I love it. Anything else like so for Jared? Right? How many times have you done this now? This is years and years and years
yeah.
in the making.
Yeah.
So for you, like Jared's job is to force you guys to think big, right? It's right over here on the wall that you can't see, is in huge letters it says "Think Big," and for him thinking big today was $40,000 in 2 movie theaters. What I heard Jared say is maybe one of these days his next goal is 12 movie theaters and who knows how much money, right? So for you guys, you have to think relative to yourself. What can you manage and what can you pull off? Because he had 4 staff members, you might have 1. He had 2 movie theaters, you might have 1 lunch table. So you don't go into this thinking, okay, I need to scrounge up $40,000 and 4 employees and I need to hire. Don't get stuck in the mud. Don't get stuck in that paralysis by analysis. Realize where you can start, because 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, Jared wasn't in 2 movie theaters with 4 employees. It was much more smaller than that. So relative to your size, realize what are you capable of today and start there. You don't have to start at 2 movie theaters and $40,000 and a break even or better.
And I think there's, I mean, just to give you the tidbits from our real estate clients, they do a lot of community events and a lot of it's free. So don't think you have to rent a movie theater. One time we did ice cream in our office. So we just went and bought ice cream and scooped it, right? We already own spoons. We already own paper bowls. We bought ice cream.
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID
ice cream.
And then there's community events like the senior centers. Dr. Darrow does a lot with senior centers, and our newest doctor, Megan, out in New England, she just did her first live event for some skilled nursing facilities. So you can get in front of people for free. You can get in front of influencers that will help you grow your business with very little commitment.
Yeah.
So don't think you have to go large scale. Like I said, if you've never done an event, do an event. If you've never done a 10-person event, do a 10-person event. So start small. Richfield loves the more intimate lunches at the steakhouse. So they'll get 5 to 10 people that are upgrade eligible or leads and say, hey, 5 or 10 of you bring a spouse or a friend. And we're going to buy lunch. We're going to have a great lunch. We're going to get to know each other. We're going to start dating. And we're going to get your business when the time comes.
When the time comes. We're not going to sell you while we're eating steak. It's not going to be this gross environment of us being aggressive. And so tell me about that, Jared. Like, on a scale that's relative to the people that might be watching this video, I want to know about the people. The people that were at your event. You weren't at the event.
Correct.
You were in Texas. So I think I want you to take me all the way back to how do you, for the people that might just be starting this selling one to many, how do you show the people that work with you the success so that 4 or 5, 6 years later, they can be in Texas offsite while they're holding an event? How do you very first show them what success looks like?
Yeah, so I mean, the very first event, if we go way back, right, was run by me, right? And there was no checklist back then. There was no balloons. There was no welcome table. There was no banner. It was us at an event. And I pulled Dr. Darrow in and I said, hey, can you talk to him? There was no planning. But we had Luann there. And Luann took notes and said, well, we need balloons and we need a welcome table and we need check-in cards. And I think it took us 1.5 years to figure out that we should probably have check-in cards. We used to just let people come to our event.
Show up. Anybody off the street, show up.
And we didn't capture their information, and there was no way to nurture them. So, along the way, we've learned things. And so, doing it the first time, but letting your staff member observe and document. Yeah. That way they do it your way, or as close to your way as possible. Continuous improvement. So there's always a post-event. What can we do better next time? What do we need to add to our checklist? My wife calls it the best and the worst, right? What was the best of your day and the worst of the day, or what was the best of the event and the worst of the event? And then building that process that can be modeled, mimicked, and replayed for success. And so at this event was Luann, who was at my very first event ever, and our brand new worker. So that now we have 2 people in the clinic.
Teaching the next generation. I love it. I absolutely love it. And for me, Jared, I think one thing that is so simple, but it's true, right? Like sometimes the solution to our problems are simple, but not always easy to see. You explained it to me that we've all been to a birthday party. At some point in your life, you were at a birthday party.
Or a wedding.
Or a wedding, some form of a party, right? Which is a get-together. What would you do if you were planning your son, your brother, your uncle's, your spouse's birthday party? How would you invite them? How many times would you invite them? Would you send a text message? Would you send a postcard? Would you do a cute little please RSVP thing? When someone arrives, would you have balloons? It's very simple. How would you plan a party if you were planning a party?
Well, and I'll tell you a great example, because we have a client in New York, great guy, great marketer, and he was telling me last weekend while we were in Dallas, so once again, my team was here running a patient event, right, getting us treatments, making us money. Dr. Darrow was in the room next to me running an event, signing new clients, adding to our community, and I was in a third room. So I wasn't at either of those 2 events, and they were producing for me, and then I was in the room with some private clients. And he said that he ran, a family miniature golf tournament, and he was just going into crazy detail. I ordered shirts, and I sent out an email, and I sent out a text, and here's what I did for my family, and I coordinated this, and then you look at it and you just say, just do that same thing, but for your business.
Yeah, treat your patients like your family, and you would already be winning. So I love that what you said is that you basically taught Luann what success looked like years ago. You documented it, and now you're to the point that Luann, who was originally the one touching success with you, is teaching the next group of individuals who work for you how to be successful at an event. If you need those documented processes, if you need the check-in cards, if you want to know how Jared runs a patient-focused, one-to-many event, I want you to contact me at Morgan, Morgan, at audexperts.com, Morgan@audexperts.com, and I'll walk you through the whole process, and I'd be happy to show you some of those check-in things, check-out things, how we capture information, and share the knowledge with some of you that maybe haven't done it yet.
So if you will be strict with yourself, intentional with your time, and disciplined, live events can add $1 million to any business out there. In med spa world, right, Botox, they did events like Bubbles and Botox, and they would do a live event. Now this is for injections, right, or acne treatments or facial. They would bring people, give champagne and appetizers, build a relationship, talk about the moles and the pimples and everything else, and then sell memberships for Botox or for skin treatments. Right, so I have examples in car dealerships. I have examples in chiro, in real estate, in dental, in audiology, in any simple way. Financial services has done this extremely successful with retirement planning sessions. So it does work. The model works. Our blueprint works. If you will be intentional and disciplined, you can add $1 million to your small business with live events, and we would love to help you do that. We would love to help you model after our success and avoid the failures that I had early on.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to talk about how intentional we were in Dallas? Is there anything else you want to add on the patient side?
Yeah, I really want those that chatted in, because sometimes we see words, right? Like, I want to do it next year. Okay, now I need to do it this year. So what's the SMART goal, right? What can you commit to today? And I know that specific chat in, right? He does live events.
Yeah.
He's done them.
He's done them
He has a
absolutely.
foundation. He's been at live events. He's been at races.
He knows what success looks like,
Yeah.
for sure.
So we just need to get him, right? We need to get him pigeonholed into what is the date, what is the time, what is my expected outcome, and now go full speed ahead to make it a reality.
Yeah, and one of the things that, might be the most difficult part there is what do you need to delegate off your plate so you can go focus on this? Because, I lied earlier, there's a few factors. I don't have enough money to spend on an event, I don't think it's going to work, or I don't have the time.
Sure.
And
Well, I'll give you an example, because at the same time that all these events were going on, right, I happened to stop by our Cedar City office, and the computer was slow as shit. Like, I'm like, how do you even operate on this computer? And the computer's 7 years old now.
Yeah.
And like, I don't use that computer every day, so my focus isn't on it. So anyway, at the same time as these live events, I also had to drop $40,000 on brand new computers. So all of my Utah offices got brand new computers, because it was holding my phones team and my office staff back because their technology wasn't working. But I wasn't on searching for computers. I wasn't making the process for upgrading computers. I had told my IT company, I need these new computers, here's a check, get it done. Mm-hmm. While they were getting that done, my team was running an event. While that team was running an event, Keith was running the event in Dallas, and I was meeting with private clients. So my magnitude of impact was much, much bigger. Yeah. Right? But if I would have said, I need to be the one logging on to Dell to order computers, I need to research what type of computer, I need to order the computers, I need to reprogram the computers, I would have never focused on the $1 million events.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think everybody here needs to realize, what is your most impactful part? What is your number one core responsibility? What is the number one thing you want to accomplish today? Because you on the call that are clients, you know how to make money, but you're often stuck putting out fires and doing the stuff that can be delegated. So remember, do, delegate, and delete.
And if you knew that you could get 200 patients in a movie theater, and that was something that you could do, it was doable for you, you should do that once a month. You should do that every quarter. You should do that more often, and less of computer replacements, less of people management, less of hiring, because what is the greatest impact that you can make? I love that.
And I promise that you will get the endorphin rush. Like, so if you love working with humans, if you love treating your patients, if you love building relationships, or hell, if you love making a lot of money, you go run live events and make a lot of money, you're going to want to do that every month, and you're going to stop worrying about what your phones team is doing or what color your cabinets
find
are.
somebody else to handle
yeah,
all
you're
that
going to go do what you love. And just like social media, right? Everybody loves getting that ding in the morning. Mm-hmm. Somebody liked my Instagram, somebody hearted my post, somebody did this. Those endorphin rushes, you can have those endorphins from something like social media, or you can have them from $1 Million Live Event program and process for the year.
In person.
Yeah.
I love it. Anything else on your staff? Big shout out to the staff for, I think you said there was 4 or 5.
Yeah, I mean, they did amazing, right? And my crazy, unhealthy owner green bar mind says that there's 7 more things they could have done to make it even better, right? But they did amazing, and they did amazing without me, and they did amazing.
How do you quiet yourself? Because I remember Jared 4 years ago, those thoughts, let's not even call them frustration, those thoughts of what could have been improved 4 years ago, they would have been in an email. I think Friday afternoon after.
Oh, I would have been live streaming that. I would have been FaceTiming and change this, change that.
Did you do this? Did you do that?
Yeah.
So like we talked a lot yesterday. We spoke with Matt Prados, wildly successful business owner who runs Review Wave. He has a ton of. I think he's on his way. He said to like 500 employees or something in Texas. Insane. We talked a ton about trust. So like, when did Jared decide that I trust the people on my team? Was there a moment, was there an instance, was there a meeting you were having with somebody? How did you all of a sudden realize, I gotta let some of this shit go, and I can't just be on everybody all the time for everything?
I mean, really, to give you credit, it was probably you beating me over
That's
the
why
head.
I asked the question.
Beating me over the head consistently, and me listening to you, right? So the trust might have been that I trusted Morgan, and then Morgan helped me trust other people, right? And now, this many years into it, I just want to trust everybody. Yeah. Right.
It's fair to say that trust breeds trust, though.
Definitely.
So if you can give a little, you can give a little more, and then
Sure. And then the other one, right, with the other side of it is, I realized that my level of impact, my ability to impact the team, payroll, the revenue of the business, the things I want to do in my life to build a greater legacy, to build my family, to provide, right? As humans, we are creators. And so my fulfillment was being held back by the worry or the fact that maybe nobody's ever going to be Jared. They're only going to be 80% of Jared, or what my perception of Jared is. So once I started touching bigger and bigger success, I realized that I can leave that to very competent, very successful team members, and then I can duplicate myself and I can duplicate the impact I'm having.
How important in that whole process of what I would sum up as letting go and trusting, how important is process?
Oh, it's extremely, extremely. So if I went all the way back and we didn't have an event checklist and we didn't have a process, Luann would be ripping her hair out. She would be stressed. She'd be texting me. She wouldn't know what good looks like. And then I would come in with those text messages and beat her up, and then it would be this toxic relationship, right? But because she documented it back then, and she's made improvements, and now she's teaching it to another person. If Jared gets hit by a bus, if Luann gets hit by a bus, the team is now autonomous. The team now has a process. They've seen what success looks like. They've been part of success. And now it's just for me to give them direction. They still, to this day, Morgan, wait for me to say, we're going to have a marketing event 4 times a year, a patient appreciation event 4 times a year. That's still my decision.
Yeah, they might need the permission, but they know how to pull it off.
Yeah.
I think process is the only reason that McDonald's can trust that business to 14-year-olds and 15-year-old kids, is because when you onboard a 14-year-old kid to flip hamburgers, there's only one way to do it. And it doesn't matter if they're coming from Burger King or Subway. When you put on that yellow arched hat and you work at McDonald's, there's one way to do that job, and there's one way to hold successful events.
And isn't it crazy, right? Because everybody would jump on our coaching calls, our marketing calls, new clients that we saw in Dallas, and would say, I want more business. I want to do live events. I want this. I want that. They know what they want, but they don't want to do necessarily the hard work. Right?
Yeah.
A lot of people want to lose weight, but they don't want to do the hard work that's involved. And so you have to look back and say, before I can get what I want in a consistent manner with an autonomous team, I have to build the process, I have to communicate the process, and then I have to recalibrate the process. And it truly is very successful. We showed it with my team. We showed it with the coaching group in Dallas. We had a very good event there with very specific intentions. Look forward to welcome. If you're watching this for the first time, we're welcoming you to the group. Can't wait to see you. And I truly believe that you, Reese, Dr. Darrow, and the people that were at the event can do that event now without me too.
Sure.
I think that model can be repeated, modeled, mimicked, and we're good to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think we need you there. You'll definitely be missed, but I don't think we need you there either. Yeah. Other than maybe the clients, there were current clients that did book some private time with you in Dallas, but outside of that, I couldn't agree more.
But think back right in our journey together, there was a time when it was, Jared and Keith, and Jared and Keith and Morgan, and Jared and Keith and Reese, and we all had to be at every event.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing us on a daily basis, quarterly basis, yearly basis. We can do 4 different events at the same time, and we can now grow our impact.
And if I look at, because your success with the clinics has been I think a 10-year journey now, at least, and the success of Odd Experts has been like a 4.5, 5-year journey, right? So it's a shorter time scale. And if I look back to what you just said of the Odd Experts being at the same group together at the same event doing the same thing versus us now branching out. Reese has an event in 2 weeks. I have an event in 3 weeks. You have a mastermind group of people coming next week. Keith won't be here. That is because there's process now.
Sure.
It's because there's a certain level of trust. There's a certain level of respect, knowledge, but there's also process. If we're going to hold a neuroscience boot camp next year in Dallas, we know that prior to that, we need to book the brain tour. We need to book the event space. There's a checklist.
Sure.
And that does breed trust.
And we know of a facility, and we know how many people that fits, right?
You know,
And if you're always changing, if you don't go back to the things that worked, right? So the most simplest form I can tell you is do more of the stuff that works and less of the stuff that doesn't work.
Okay.
So if you have a hotel and a brain lab and you have a speaker and it works, do more. Right? If something goes awry and isn't successful, if you didn't sign new business, if you didn't add people to your community, if you spent over budget, don't do more. right? And I think you taught us that lesson. There was, if we go back, there was a year where we dropped $150,000
Oh,
on
yeah.
Caesar's Palace
Yeah.
to run an event, and now we went to this event was paid for up front on
Before
day
we
one.
showed up. Yeah, that was the biggest. I remember we were sitting at dinner the night before the event started, recapping with our team. It's just the odd experts, like we often do. We give one last team huddle before we take the field, right before it's game day the next day. And I remember sitting there and you saying, this event was paid for before we got off the plane, and that just being insane to us in our, at least in our field, for the events that we had been holding, to be negative before you showed up.
Yeah, you're
was
playing
the
from
way it
behind.
was.
You're playing catch up.
And we stopped doing the things that didn't work. That's why I said the solution to our problems is often simple but not easy to see.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally just stopped doing the things that weren't working. We stopped inviting the clients that we didn't want to spend time around. We started inviting more of the right clients that we really did think were going to be a type of clients for us. We spent money where it mattered. We didn't spend money
Well,
on things that didn't matter.
And I think what we just summarized, and there was not an intention to it, is, right, you need to promote your events, right? So promotion is the first P. You need to have great people that you teach how to do it successfully and how to do it your way. So you need promotion, you need people. Morgan brought up that you need a process, so make sure you have a process. And then you need to make sure that it's profitable, right? So those are 4 Ps: people, process, promotion, profitability. And that will be your key to a successful event. That will be your key to now take it to the next level and do more of it, right? Do more of success. So I hope those events were really good. I still want to hear from our chat in. I truly want to know. I want a date so I can hold you accountable. That's what we're here for,
There
is
you
to
go.
give you ideas and hold you accountable, to help you compress time and to make sure that you learn from our mistakes. So I want a date. Chat it in there. When is your next live event?
You just named our thumbnail, by the way, for this video on YouTube.
Yeah.
Is for sure going to be the 4 Ps to the most successful events I've ever done.
I love it.
I love that.
I love it. So chat it in. I want some dates. And if you don't, we're not going to let you come next week to this live call.
Block you
We're going
off
to
this
block
phone
you
call.
from the call.
There you go.
Fantastic. I'll give you a few more minutes to chat in. I just see Reese walked into the room, so
Yeah. Anything to add, Reese?
Oh, you guys killed it.
Drop some knowledge.
fantastic.